This is really, really great. So it's like,
Right.
so let's talk about code switching masculinity, right? Because like,
Mm.
who are you in each space? Like when you're, um, I do you think that you are different here in America than you are in India?
Super different, bro. I can't even tell you. Like, I'm super different because, yeah. I mean, I'll let you go ahead if you have any follow-up question on that. But
No, no,
if you
no.
want
We
me to
have
talk about
go
that, I
for
can
it.
talk
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super different, bro. I'm like much softer than I used to be back in India. In India,
Really?
I'm not like this. Yeah. It's different world, and that's the thing, man. You gotta adapt, you know, yourself. So I was living in a super hard world, super tough world. So my persona, the way I speak and the way I mean, of course, there was not like a, night and day kind of difference, but I was like much tougher and stronger. And I would come up as a lot more stronger on people. And also like about one thing, but you know what? One thing which I learned in America is that it's okay to be like, disagree someone and disagree with someone's opinion and beliefs.
Mm,
It's okay because they're not wrong either, because they have a brain as well which is
mm,
working. So if they're feeling something a certain way, there's truth in that side as well. Because in India I was like extreme person, and I was like, no, this is wrong, this is not right. But here what I've learned is, because I have such a diverse set of friends, it's that if someone believes a certain way, like it's true for them. It might not be true for me, but it's true
mm,
for them. So here I'm like a lot different and a lot accepting of like different beliefs and different things and different. And also I think because when I was living in India, you have a very there's not many foreigners in India, so
mm.
everyone's kind of like same,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. Yeah, but here it's so different. So you open up your brain like, and then, oh my God, and then there's like different things, different stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm a lot softer here, I would say.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, softer on
Wow.
my friends, softer on like every, and also people here, they can take any feedback. I feel like people cannot take any feedback because
They're
because
too
and like
sensitive?
too sensitive. And
Oh,
also
yeah.
because and you know what happens like in India, because the culture is so different. So in America, everyone's equal. Like a 6-year-old is as equal, like as a life where,
Mm,
I mean,
mm.
of course, everyone is equal in every country and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a 6-year-old is as equal to a 25-year-old, and a 25-year-old is as equal to like 45, 65, 85, or like 105.
Uh,
However, in India it's different. A 25-year-old is not equal to a 6-year-old. I'm not saying the value of life, but in the
mm,
society, there's a hierarchy. There's like a visible, super visible hierarchy, which is in your face all the time. So what happens is, let's say if I'm 25-year-old and there's a guy who's 19 or 20 or 21, I can be blunt about my feedback. And let's say if the guy is not doing good, he's just like wasting time and playing video games all day. So I can be blunt and he would still listen. He would have to listen because he cannot disrespect me. So
mm,
by saying that, hey, I don't believe what you're saying is right, he's kind of like disrespecting me. So that doesn't happen. So
mm,
if a 35-year-old person comes to me and like talks about things and like, hey, you should do this, you should do this, I cannot disagree with him because disagreeing means disrespect. So what happens is you get a lot of feedback
mm,
on like real time feedback. Your relatives gives you feedback. There's a lot of guys who are like older than you. They give you the feedback. So feedback is real time. So you cannot slip so far away because sometimes we take on a slippery slope and then it becomes like a vicious cycle and we're
yeah.
doing bad stuff, bad stuff, bad stuff, bad stuff. In India, it's different, bro. You cannot go super bad because people are just gonna come at your face. Hey, what are you doing in your life? Why are you doing
Yeah.
this? Hey, this. Your parents, your neighbors, your like everyone would come at you because it's so different. Here, it's a lot different, bro. Like I know some people are just like wasting their life, like they're not gonna go anywhere. And me being a good person, being a good friend, I wanna like talk talk with them and about things, but I
Mhm.
cannot do it because doesn't matter how nice I try to be about like my words and how soft, how I, construct my
Mhm.
words so that it comes up super nice. If I try to like, they would just like not talk to me, and I would
Yeah.
lose a friend. And then I'm like, yeah, are they close enough to break my friendship
Mm.
for their own sake? If it is, then I'm still gonna like, give them the feedback, even if it, costs me a friendship. But most of
Yeah.
the people are not that close to you, so you would like never, interfere in their life because everyone's right here, So it's so yeah, no, everyone's right
No,
here.
I,
It's so different. It's insane.
we talked about that too in person about that because I am very direct, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But even my directness, there's care in it, but I'm still
right,
direct.
right,
Um, and it's I would say, and I have been told this many times. It's like my directness is more of a strong suggestion,
right.
right? And it's not like, oh, you need to this and you need to that. I take what I see and make it objective, and I say
Yes,
this is what I'm seeing and this is what's going on, and it
right.
appears to be XYZ to give somebody the opportunity to see it, a perspective that they might not have seen, and said,
Yeah,
and then I give a solution or something that will possibly cause them to think um about it in a more
yeah.
objective way and not be, it's logical, but it also caters to the growth of the human
Growth of the
and
person.
not just
Yeah,
the function. I
right.
would say. And so that's why a lot of the time when I'm talking with someone, especially, I completely understand what you said. And I do agree with you. Majority of the people here in America are very sensitive,
Super
um,
sensitive.
because they don't
Yeah,
want to be wrong. And there's a lot of performance here. And
right.
I don't like saying that, but there is a lot of performance. I know I have been one of those at some point,
Yeah,
where I was performing. I did what was expected of me. I talked the way that people expected of me. I showed up. Um, in a way that people felt I should have. But then I
yeah,
started to do the internal work of finding my identity, my true identity, and living out of that. And then I think as a man, when you don't have your internal identity that's understood and as the foundation
right,
by which you live, then you become a puppet, and
right.
you become
Exactly.
you become whatever is necessary to make people around you happy.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that there's a season where that might be acceptable. Like when you're growing up and you're developing, you're an adolescent and you're going
Right.
into teenager. Okay, you listen, you do what's taught, you do what's expected of you because it's like
Yes.
you respect and you honor. But when you
Right.
start to walk into your manhood and your identity, and you have to start realizing that at some point you're going to be leading a family, you're going to be leading a company, then you have to
Yeah.
start being able to stand where there might be contradiction, to
Right.
stand where you might have conflict and
Yeah.
adversity. And
Right.
that requires you to develop a freaking backbone, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I
That's
see,
right.
yeah, I see what you're talking about. Wow.
Yeah.
That's just like, if you disagree, go ahead and put it in the comments. We will definitely bring it back
Yeah.
here. Um, wow. So okay. So um how do you how do you feel from your perspective men
Okay.
navigate international environments with this, laughing through the contradiction, like sometimes we
Yeah.
laugh because it's like, oh, if I were to have said what I wanted to say, or
Hmm.
we laugh because it's a nervousness because you feel seen and you don't want to be exposed. Like, so how do you feel men navigate this? Because I was just talking with somebody last night about this
Yeah.
very topic. It was I was so excited. So I'm ready. I'm
Do you
excited to hear what
do
you have to
you
say.
yeah, no, do you want to explain this topic just a little bit more? Like international waters, what do you
Yeah,
mean by
so
that?
the
Yeah.
international environment, right? Because
Yeah.
it's very clear that
Right.
the perspective and the lens by which you are speaking and
Okay.
seeing is through your
Yeah.
your cultural heritage of being from
Yes.
India and
Right.
being in America, right? And
Right.
mine is from being an American who
Yeah.
has traveled. Like I lived in Italy.
Right.
I've been to different countries and things like
Yeah.
that. And I would say I have a somewhat of a familiarity with how men are internationally as I become accustomed to the different cultures. But it's like
Yeah.
your your culture of how you've been raised and how
Right.
masculinity appears there is now being inserted into American culture, and
Yes.
you're exchanging you
Yes.
yourself,
Yes.
your values
Yes.
with
Right.
other men. So I like
Right.
how do you
Yeah.
connect with
Yeah.
that? How does
No,
this
that's
connect?
a, I think that's a very deep question. And yeah, no, because I cannot just bring the Mo who was in India and land in America and be the same Mo, because it's a different culture, different people, the belief system, the values, and everything's different here. The things that the American people are raised with are so different than I was raised with. So there's no point in like staying the same and like staying the same kind of Mo who was in India. So tread tread like these international waters. I think the number one, and also like a big problem which a lot of people face, I would say, like guys face, is that they try to stick with their own Indian friends, or like
Mm.
whichever nationality they're coming from. They make a bubble,
Oh,
because outside the bubble it's a different world, different, like people are different, the way they talk, it's different, the thing that they value is different. But in your bubble, because you're from same country, you share the same food, same clothes, same traditions, same festivals, everything. So it's very comforting to like live in your own bubble. But if you want to live in your own bubble, then why even bother coming here? Like just stay in India and like have fun and be comfortable. A lot of men, I would say, bro, like I have, because I'd be honest, man, my like in my batch there were about like 97, 98 students, and more than 90 students were just Indians in my class. It was a master's, as I was talking about, it was a master's in computer information systems. So it's like 95% Indian class. A lot of those people, they never even get to speak to any American ever. Like ever,
mm,
ever. Like, you know, because they don't go out. And when I first landed here in America, it was so difficult for me, because although I've been like speaking English since for a very long time, and blah blah blah, and I've watched probably like all the movies that are there to watch and everything, but no one could understand me. So they kept asking what, and it took me like a week, or like probably like 2 weeks of like self doubt and everything, to be able to speak comfortably and confidently, and the way I could be understood. But I was like, hey, I feel like I'm a mute person, and that's bad, because I'm a very good communicator in my own language, in my own country. I was super
yeah,
social, and I felt like, damn, if I stay like this, I'm just gonna be like isolated. So it took a lot to like come out of my shelf and like talk to as many people as possible, especially Americans, because I didn't want to talk with Indian people at all, because I've been talking to them since forever. And so everyone else, there's a place called University Village in Fort Collins,
mm,
where they all live, like where all the Indian people live. I was like, no, even if I have to pay double the rent, I'm not gonna take a home in University Village, because if I go to the University Village, I'm just gonna be surrounded by all the Indian people. And no disrespect, I'm an Indian. I love you all, but it's gonna put myself in a bubble, and I would never be able to like go out.
yeah,
So I paid double the amount of rent and lived outside of that University Village, and so that I can talk with Americans, be with Americans, because now that I'm in this country, my success in life is gonna be super, super, super dependent on like how American I am and what. So I was like going out and doing this, and a lot of other men, where the struggle is, they come here, they land here, and bro, and also I would say like one thing which helped me was like I was always confident. I was always like my self esteem, my everything was like super good while back in India. So I didn't take like a big hit. It's a small hit, but I know my friends
yeah.
like who weren't as cool in India, or who weren't as social in India, and you know, like weren't as confident in India, and when they land here, Like if you're already at the like medium layer in India, and if you come to America, which is already here, so you're gonna be like, at the same level here. So I was like here in India, and America is like here. So I started in the middle layer, probably up maybe the bottom layer. But the other people, they were, because they weren't cool in India, they didn't know how to make friends in India, because all the friends that they had were the people that they were in school with, or like, the natural friendships. They didn't learn how to do it. Now they're in a different country, international place, and then it's just like, whoa, and they just like stick together. Like
Mm,
they're like always. So you would always see like an Indian person who hasn't been Americanized yet, they would always like, be in a group. Always.
mm, mm,
They're scared. They're scared to like talk to American people, which is insane. And they never work around of that. Like, and I think it takes like courage and, like a
oh,
masculine
yeah.
power to like come out of your shell. If
Yeah.
if we're just like super low on motivation and like stuff like that, you would never go out of your comfort zone and, talk to other people, and then it becomes like super bad for them. So all my friends, like, they still can't speak in English. It's been like what, like more than a year, and you still can't speak English. Like what's wrong, right?
No, you
Yeah,
so
my English
yeah,
isn't best, but I try my best. Yeah.
this is why him and I get along. We
Yeah.
get along very well. I told you, don't let him fool you. Do not let this man fool you.
Yeah.
Because I completely agree, because it's like I've been learning Japanese, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I can crush Duolingo, right?
Right.
But you have to practice it with people, and if
People.
you don't, you won't build that confidence. Like whenever I would go to different
Mm.
countries, like when I was living in Italy, I did not hang out with the Americans, right? I did not.
Right.
I hung out with all of the Italians that I could. I hung out with the international students wherever they were, or
Hmm.
at least I tried.
Right.
When my time when I lived in Italy, not when I was traveling Italy, when I was traveling and I was doing tours and things like that,
Yeah.
I talked mostly with the Italians when I would meet them and things like that, and I built wonderful relationships with a lot of Italians that was there. That's
Yes.
how I learned Italian on my own and all that stuff.
Hmm.
When I was there as an international student, I had to face with a lot of life issues and struggles, so I had to
Hmm.
um, find work, and
Right.
improve my Italian on my own. And then I had to be out of school to find work to pay for my bills and all stuff like that. So there was a lot
Right.
more going on for me that required me to be completely
Right.
submerged in the culture and to survive. But I completely agree with you. It's like if you only hang out with who you know, you never grow, right? You
Exactly.
never develop the skill sets that will allow you to connect with multifaceted, multi
Right.
diverse peoples, culture, ethnicity, so forth and so on. And you don't develop that understanding from a world view, and
Right.
to your small little corner of the world. I know tons of Americans um,
Yeah.
who have never
Yeah. Who do
left
the
their
same thing.
state.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have never
Exactly.
even left their state.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I want to go be a world traveler. You don't even have a passport. So,
I know, right?
oh my goodness.
And I feel like as a dude, at least as a guy, it's your duty to go outside and see the world and like talk to different people, as different as possible, because as a guy, as a dude, you have a responsibility to your family name and to your culture, to your heritage, whatever it could be. And you can only, contribute if you are something yourself. And if you're just like staying in the same circle, you're not gonna grow ever, ever, ever. Like, not you, I mean, like the person would like never grow ever, ever.
Mm,
But however, the more diverse background, and like, imagine a Chinese person who was born in a Chinese village, and he never went out and lived in Chinese village all his life, versus his brother who was born in China and then went to Shanghai or like one of the big city and like lived there, and then came to America, lived here for a few years, and went to Australia and went to Europe and went to Africa, and now he's coming back to his village. The amount of good that the other person would be able to do just because of like his horizon, his brain expanded, versus a guy who was like always eating the same food, and
mm,
every time. So I think as guys, it's like super important to come out of your comfort zone, come out of your shelf, and experience And you know what, bro? I also feel like our happiness is also tied into doing the same thing because I will tell you that, but when I was in India, I was like, I had like a lot of friends, my social hierarchy, the overall social hierarchy, I was probably at the top, and like everything was going as good as it possible. However, I was feeling like, is it is this is the end? Like I'm 25 years old. I'm like I already had like a lot of money compared to India. Like like doing the because I was working in the American job being in India, so I was like getting shit ton of money. And now the money was good, and then the house was insane, and we had like domestic help and everything, and I could just eat at whatever restaurant, and I would pay for my friends. Never looked at any bill, and just like tap 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 tap, and like payments going on. So I started to feel like although life is like, people would dream of this life, like, to be like so comfortable. And like, don't worry about anything. Your clothes are washed, everything's done, the kitchen's good, everything's done. And you meet a lot of girls, and like, girls are happy being around you because you're so successful, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about anything. And in India, it's like the dudes always pay. I think it's in this is like an Asian thing, like the dudes will always pay. No splitting and happening. And if we're splitting, then the girl's not gonna see you ever again, ever. Like she'd be like, "What kind of dude is that? I'd rather hang out with my girls, and have more fun than hanging out with the dude who like asked me to pay and stuff like that." So life was so easy, but internally, I was like, "Hey, man, my life is already so good at 25. If I stay here, I'm just gonna like degrade now. Like it
Mm-hmm.
cannot go any up. Like it can only come down. I don't want it to come down." I was like, leave this thing. Let's go to a country and like start like be poor again and like start from the zero again
Mm-hmm.
because that'd be fun because I would have like some stories and like how I was hustling and how I was surviving. And it's gonna look like pain when I was like, going around and like surviving. But once you like make it up, these are the best stories which you would
Yeah.
be able to tell and like people would listen. Oh shit, oh shit.
Yeah.
It would make for a great story. So that's what I can. But a lot of people, as you said, like they never even leave their own state at all. And then it just like, I mean, people have different priorities and,
Yeah. Yeah.
things that they want to do. But for as a, I mean, for girls, it's okay if they want to stay at the same place and, and stuff like that. But for a guy, it's like a big no, like, try to go as far away as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, and it's you guys, and just keep in mind that this is the locker room talk, right? So it's us guys talking with each other. We're not trying to devalue women or degrade women, but we're
yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah,
from
not at all. We
yeah,
love
of
them.
course. And of course our audience knows that because that's why they're here.
Yeah,
We
right.
have a saying here that locker room men always do it better, always. And
Yeah,
I stand by that because because that's what we believe
yeah,
here. We want to see our fellow brothers, not just from
yeah,
American standpoints. So if you're an
right,
XY chromosome period, we want you to be the best, live the best,
right.
have the best, and feel the best, and come into all of who you are, not just
Yes,
from a different society perspective.
right.
And you started talking about something here, which is a wonderful way to transition to our second segment. All of that was just segment one, right?
Yes,
I'm sitting
Ali.
here in my head, like as you're talking, I'm like, I want to work out with this guy. We're going to
Yes,
we're going to the gym. I want to work out with this man
yes,
and lift some weights with him. But
yes. Oh yeah.
and the second segment is
Hmm.
it talks about pharaoh energy and
Yes.
sacred intent. And you are right, we already talked about
Yeah.
my wonderful assistant Jonathan, and I'm like,
Right.
what is he over here talking about here? So I'm
Right.
I'm bracing myself because I know my assistant. I know him very well. And so I'm looking at this, and one of the first things I want to bring up with this is
Hmm.
the beauty and chaos of not having it all figured out, right?
Yeah.
Learning from the body. We talked
Right.
about this in person, not just the mind. So it deals with sexuality and aggression and stillness,
Right.
managing the primal. So you said something very key when we were talking in person about this. Do you remember what you talked about when it
Hmm.
was dealing with like the aggression and sexuality and the managing how the body responds and things like that?
I don't remember exactly, but if you wanna, yeah, talk a little bit more about it and give me some
Yeah, so
context.
it's like
Hmm.
you were talking, we were discussing about like figuring things out in person. Like you were telling me one
Yeah,
of the life goals that you had, um and how like you didn't have it all figured out, and
yeah,
I shared with you about how I didn't have it all figured out, but it was taking the chances and the risks about just listening to the body,
yeah.
right? And you were talking about how you were wanting to tap more into
Right,
the creative side,
right,
because you had already had the masculinity
right,
there, and you had said that you had felt a little toxic at some point.
right,
And
right.
I was like,
Exactly. Yeah.
really? Because I couldn't see that, from me looking in, having done all of those.
Yeah. Well, the Mohit, our Mohit you see is like much, much, much different than what I used to be, and that I mean, that's what we're talking about. Like
Yeah.
like transforming yourself
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like not being the same person. So yeah,
So
I feel you. So yeah. No, so
so
I
how,
mean, yeah, yeah. That's a. I'm sorry. Yeah. Please
no,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah.
So how have you learned from your own physical body,
Right.
like from like dealing with that energy type of
Right.
aspect of the body as a man, because a lot of times
Right.
what I have encountered with men here, and
Mm-hmm.
even in my own friendships, no, 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 nothing to my friends. Okay, you guys, you already know that if you're in my group, I'm going to talk about you, and not in a bad way. It's just I talk out of life experience. A
Right.
lot of men are not very in tune with their own body and
Oh yeah,
how it
they're not.
works,
They're
and
not.
they're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what about you?
So
How?
yeah, so I would say, I mean, that's a very good point, and I have a little different perspective on this. So I view my brain and my body as different. So
Mm,
yeah, the way I view myself is the body is lazy, is inherently lazy,
mm,
and the body wants to boss around because we have physical senses and which are very attractive, like our tongue. We want to eat good food and we want to feel certain things and we want to experience certain things through like sex or like different things. Our body is very primitive, I would say.
mm,
It's like super primitive. However, our brain's not. But if we're not, if and what happens is, if let's say if I'm not working out, so I feel like, yeah, so the body has its own brain, but it's like a very primitive brain. And
mm,
if you let body go loose, then like it's very easy to, just mess it up because you'd be doing drugs and like alcohol, because it's all like body thing, like weed and like whatnot, and like, fentanyl, like whatever it is. It's a very body thing. And only the brain can control the body. And the
mm,
way
mm,
our brain can control the body is if the brain punishes the body, which is through sports, because you get tired. Like the body obviously doesn't want to like run 5 miles. Like why would it want to run when it can just like chill and rest at the couch and like watch TV? So if the brain's not punishing our body, the body starts to like take control. And as a nice person, as a good person, you would never want to have your brain in your body. Like you wouldn't want your body to think for yourself, because if the body starts thinking, it want to like eat sugar, it want to drinks, it want to have drugs and like whatnot. So by working out, we are training our body and we are sending a very subtle signal to our body, like who's the boss, like the brain's
mm,
the boss. You are my ride, like I ride you're not the one who's going to ride me. So I
mm,
think when you like start working out and like things, and not even like working out, like playing sports or like doing anything physical, it sends a signal to the body that brain is in power. And no one in the world like wants to be an alcoholic, but the only reason they're still an alcoholic because the brain cannot control it. It's
mm,
just like, it's hard. It's hard because the body has too much power. They've given their body too much power. So, it's a constant battle. Like who doesn't want to work out? Like no one. Who doesn't want a six pack abs? Everyone does. Like there's not a single guy who doesn't who would say no. I like my fat body. I don't like six pack abs, but they still don't have it. The only reason they don't have it is because they think more from their body. Their body's in power, and bodies just want to get like fat and lazy because that's where it's comfortable.
Mm.
But our brain, yeah, like everyone wants a six pack abs. Like who doesn't? But no one has it because because they're not in control. So I think body can teach a lot of things to us, and also a topic of masturbation. If the body's in control, like like at least for a guy, it affects so much. Like masturbation, like affects so much
It does.
because it does crazy. Like it rewires your brain. It's insane because that's the most primal or this thing. Like that's the most attractive thing, and by controls that it gives it changes the power structure. It like your brain starts to get some power, and then because you're not like masturbating every day or like every week something, your testosterone's gonna increase. And because of the
Hmm.
increase in testosterone, now you want to work out because you can't just like sit still because you have so much energy in
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
body is producing power. And then you work out, and then you work out more, which gives you even more control towards that thing. So the power structure changes. However, for someone who's like masturbating as a guy, and I know people like who are like 50 years old and they still masturbate, and like 60 years old they still masturbate. There's a lot of things here which are going around in America. Oh, it's okay to masturbate. Oh, it's okay to let. No, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? That's the worst thing that you can do. I would even say go go do some like drugs or like alcohol or something, then masturbating, because you can always come out of other things.
Mm-hmm.
However, masturbating is such a vicious cycle because the way it rewires your brain and the way you start to look at women changes, because now in your brain they're just like a sex object. You're like the way you're gonna see your family members, the girls in your family, everything's gonna change because you're just like
Yeah.
masturbating. And however, a guy who doesn't masturbate, they're not gonna like judge everyone and view everyone in the same way. And man, I feel like you can learn so much from your body.
You
And
can.
yeah, what do you think?